Miss Martin Muses. Welcome to Miss Martin Muses, where we muse upon what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Well, today here on Miss Martin Muses, we are talking about screwball movies. They definitely make me laugh and make me mostly happy. We're going to talk about that a little bit today, and we are joined once again I can't talk. We are once again joined by Maury.
Hello.
Oh, hello there, and Eddie.
Hi.
Hi. Good to have you back. Good to be back. We've had a bit of a Christmas hiatus, but we are now here and getting ready to talk about some seriously silly things. I'm just going to jump right into this. I want to jump right into this. Our first screwball movie. Oh, let me circle back. I'm going to pull a Jensaki. What exactly is a screwball movie? Eddie, I don't know if you wanted to throw out a definition there, or Maury.
Well, it's changed somewhat with the decades, but ultimately it's just a film that doesn't really have any real purpose other than just be funny and not based in reality in any way or form. You know, they're just a complete departure from reality. So I guess that would be as good a definition. In a comedic thing, though, they're just very clownish. The further back you go, the more silly they are, and then you get up into more today. They're more topical and so forth, but they're still the same sort of thing, just an escape.
Okay, yeah, and I'm looking here on Google, and they're saying like one thing that characterizes it is they're just like chaos, and you don't know what's coming next, and it also tends to it tends to build.
One event leads to another thing.
Yeah, it does.
And then it just ends up kind of crazy. It goes insane. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, our very first screwball comedy is The Disorderly Orderly. Maury, why don't you tell us a little bit about The Disorderly Orderly?
All right. Came out in 1964. Its director is Frank Tashlin. Writers is Frank Tashlin, Norm the Man, and Ed Hayes. It stars Jerry Lewis, Kathleen Freeman, Bill Moore, Linda Farrell, Everett Sloan, Alice Pierce, Susan Oliver, and Karen Sharp.
Okay. Well, cool. It's a Jerry Lewis movie. Now, this is actually the first Jerry Lewis movie I've seen in years, if at all. Because I think I've seen scenes from Jerry Lewis, but I've never actually watched one from the beginning to end. And I want to go ahead and start with you, Eddie, because you said back screen that you have a history with this. So I'm going to kind of give the floor to you about this.
Well, I basically this hit right about when I was 6-7 years old was when these films came out, or this one did, and then there were other Jerry Lewis movies at the time, and we used to go downtown to the old theater down there. My cousin and I would walk down there essentially and go see these movies. It was something to do on a Saturday afternoon, and these things are hysterical, you know. A lot of pratfalls, a lot of visual stunts and things like that. This particular film incorporates a little bit of animation overlays and stuff, which is pretty technically advanced at the time, I guess. Good stunt work. You know, they were very vaudevillian in a way. Just like I said, a lot of pratfalls. The dialogue is silly. However, this film, the one thing about this one, it has a subtext and all, and it deals with a personal trauma, and the character, Jerry Lewis's character, he's a goofball and whatnot, but he's got some emotional issues that are actually dealt with in the film, and you know, so it's got a little bit of an upper layer to it that's just a little bit of a departure from pure silliness. There's another story arc. It takes place in a hospital, so there are hospital things going on, and it takes a poke at the medical industry for profit, the sickness for profit industry. You know, at the time it was a private institution, and free to turn down or receive whoever they wanted to. So it gets into a little bit of politics and stuff. So the film's got a lot of different layers to it, in addition to just being goofy and silly.
Well, that's some really interesting background. I didn't even think it was that deep, but now that you say it,
well, you know, in the lead character's got he's got like a post-traumatic thing that's causing it to manifest itself in this weirdness where he over empathizes with people and takes on these symptoms of whatever conditions they have and whatnot. You know, that's reasonably deep, I guess. It's kind of stuff.
Well, no, I think that's really cool. I'll admit, when I watched this movie, I was a bit annoyed. Mm-hmm. I found Jerry Lewis very annoying, and I'll just lay it out here. So I'm curious to hear your perspective on his comedic genius, because I will admit he is a comedic genius. I know everything he achieved. I know what everyone says about him, but I personally couldn't find it funny. So I don't know if you want to share about that.
Well, you know, that's not uncommon at all. And in all honesty, it's one of those things it's funny in its age and in its time. It's clearly that type of I guess, again, vaudeville, I would think. I don't know, but that type of humor doesn't read well today. You know, it's based in the theater and in the and in live action types of things. And this was at the end of that too. This was he had already done the Martin and Lewis films and some earlier works too. He was a little older, so maybe a little more. I don't know. It's a clownish figure, and this is the same types of stuff he did in all the films, and they read well. They're good stories for the age, you know. But again, it's one of those things that exists, and it's good in its place and in its time. Clearly, most of today's audience would not find it the least bit amusing.
Yeah. Well, Maury, this was your first time seeing it. What did you think?
Well, I had seen Jerry Lewis movies before, so I knew what type of humor he does. A lot of physical and the whole klutz kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I thought it was funny, but I mean, I guess someone's perspective, like Eddie said, he was older, so seeing an older man doing that type of clownish, stupid stuff is like, come on, you're like 50 years old. Like,
yeah. But I think that's where I also come from when I say that I have an appreciation for it. Yeah. Because I can appreciate what he was doing. And also at the time, though, that was really almost revolutionary. That kind of character that he was bringing to the mainstream.
Yeah. Like if you had seen like a film where he's like younger or like early 20s, you know, and doing the whole inept kind of thing, kind of humor, they probably might have read better.
Yeah. Well, and also it's an acquired taste. I think it's definitely an acquired taste. But Eddie, you said that you found this very funny. What particular scene in this movie did you find funny?
You know, when I was a kid, the first time I saw it, the whole thing was hilarious. I mean, I was 6 years old. It was perfect, you know, honestly. Of course, when this came out, there weren't a lot of, I won't say there weren't a lot of options, but if you wanted to see something large scale like this, you waited for it to come to a theater and you saw it. There wasn't the entertainment options that we have today. You can go anywhere and see just about anything, you know. So things like this, I guess it goes into the same category with things like the Three Stooges. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of people that just cannot stand that. Mm-hmm. You know, I find it hysterical, but again, it's you know, it's the illogic of it. Maybe it's just the fact that it isn't very. It's not intelligent. It's stupid. Maybe it strikes some kind of, I don't know. But despite how civilized humanity will be or become, it will always be funny to see someone slip on a banana peel. That'll just always be funny to somebody. Yeah. You know, now a lot of people, that's terrible. They break their hip. But you know, it's just funny. There's something funny about that, especially in a comedic fictional context where nobody's going to get hurt. It's
Yeah.
just,
Well, no, I mean, I thought some of it was kind of funny. I guess
I find the nurse funny. I think she's funnier in the film than he is.
Okay, which nurse? The older nurse or the
older nurse? The one that has to put up with him.
No, she's so irritated with him.
She's so irritated with him and having to keep from killing him. To me, the tension that's built there is funny to me, and it's just, especially the scene where they have the meeting in the office and the nurse ends up laid out on the couch. To me, that whole scene is just is hysterical. I mean, as a vignette goes, but everything doesn't work in it.
I know. I like whenever he's trying to get the dirty clothes down the laundry chute, and it's all stuck, and then of course you know what's going to happen. So he's going to get unstuck. Because he's like on top of it, standing on it.
Of course.
Like, he's going to fall through it.
Of course.
Okay. Yeah. I think maybe for me, the part that kind of made me laugh was when at the very end, the bad guy or in the ambulance going down. Yeah.
Right.
Definitely gets his comeuppance.
And he's like on that gurney and he's just going down the freeway and knocking all over the place.
Mr. Tuffington.
Yeah.
Well, and some of the places where I appreciated the skill of his physical comedy was the thing with the spaghetti.
Yeah.
Yeah. That he was able to pull that off. I mean, I could tell watching it that his comedic timing and the way he did it and everything, I could tell that it was ingenious. I just didn't find it funny, but I could appreciate it.
And see, the thing that I like, as going back and looking at this film, the stuff that I wouldn't pay any attention to at all, of course, is the love story and the rejection that causes this phobia. Well, when he finally gets a chance to resolve that personal issue, the phobia is lifted. He suddenly doesn't have that empathy anymore. That's a nice love story, especially the whole thing where he goes and he works overtime to try to pay her bills and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's a nice little thing there,
Yeah, to kind of sum it up, like he's a former medical student. He washed out of medical school because he had that empathy thing. He'd always take on the patient's symptoms. So of course he couldn't get through school like that. So then he takes a job at the private sanitarium, and then him and the nurse,
we find out that the head nurse was in love with his father. When they were that age.
So she took, she hired him because she's like,
she has a special interest.
Yeah, that could have been my son. Things had worked out between me and his dad. So. She kind of takes him off takes him on as an adopted son kind of thing. And him and the nurse.
That's the young nurse. That's the
young
love
nurse. That's his girlfriend. And then his high school crush gets admitted as a patient.
And see, that's pretty good storytelling there too.
So then, he's always had a crush on the girl, and then the girlfriend sees how he's taking on the extra hours so he can pay for the medical expenses because she doesn't have any money to pay for her treatment.
This is where they take a stab at the medical industry.
Yeah, and Mr. Tuffington, the chairman of the board, he wants to kick her out because
she doesn't have enough money.
Yeah, she doesn't have enough money. He's like, the patients we accept, no. If they can't pay, then we have to.
No money, no bed.
No money, no bed.
Yeah,
they had to leave.
Yeah. Well, there was an insane asylum too.
Yeah. And you have that whole that thing with the straight jacket and the whole thing.
Yeah. Okay, I bet that was why. And also as a sign of the time, you're in an insane asylum, but they are obviously not truly insane.
Yeah.
No, more neurotic than anything.
Yeah. And then
because nowadays, if they were try to be, ha, let's go do this thing in an insane asylum. People would be, how dare you? This is serious. Don't laugh at them.
And then his thing was he wanted to, get rid of just like the regular patients and go for richer patients, celebrity patients.
Yeah, Mr.
So they can make, profit. And then, like Eddie said, that's when the whole social issue comes in.
Yeah. Well, I did do a little bit of reading up on it, and Jerry Lewis mentioned that the comedies that he started to get control of, and this would be one of them, he wanted it to have a little more depth, he wanted there to be some pathos to it.
Okay.
And that was what he tried to bring into the slapstick comedy, because he says getting hit by a pie in the face is funny, but sometimes you need a little bit more than that. I think that's what he was going through with the relationships with the different characters.
Okay.
And maybe a little bit of that story, because he was socially justice conscious, I think, in a good way, if you know what I mean. For real. Long before it was a virtue signaling thing.
Yeah, I mean, he was all into like Jerry's Kids. He started that foundation.
They did the muscular dystrophy.
Yeah.
Telethons.
Precisely. And I thought that there was a little bit of depth to it when he's finally kissing the woman he thinks he's in love with, and then he realizes, you're July 3rd.
Yeah, exactly.
But this other lady's July 4th.
Yeah. He's like, oh yeah, maybe I should be with my girlfriend.
Yeah. And then when he's going after, when he finally telling her he loves her, that whole trope, and then he's like, you're not July 3rd, you're July 4th. That was funny. Okay. All right. I finally remembered something that was funny. There we go.
Now, another thing too that's really cool about it that kind of goes unnoticed is the fact that the head of the hospital, the head chief of the hospital, is a woman in 1964. So the doctor that is over everything, without being, still has to answer to the chairman of the board, but the lady who's in charge of the hospital is a lady. So, which is kind of progressive, I suppose, in that period of time. Yeah,
you're right, because they wouldn't be showing a woman doctor.
Exactly. Then your head nurse.
Sign of the times too. They're sitting there in the hospital in that meeting, and there's cigarettes everywhere.
I know.
And I'm just like, I remember when they would be allowed, you'd be allowed to smoke everywhere, including hospitals.
Oh yeah, encouraged.
And in the late 80s, they were still doing it. They were still doing it on airplanes and well into the 90s. But it's a little weird nowadays, because I think we're so used to not seeing cigarettes, especially not in a hospital.
Yeah, especially in a hospital.
Yeah. Oh my. Well, okay. Well, we're wrapping up on disorderly. So, if I were to give it a score out of how I felt about it, my feelings, it would be a very low score and probably not fair. But as far as the technicality and all of that, I would say it's definitely at least a 7.5 or an 8 out of 10, because I can appreciate what they were doing with the movie and the technicality and the genius that was behind what they were doing. What do you think, Maury? What score would you give it?
Yeah, well, I thought that score you gave it was pretty high. Especially like, I don't know, you say like 4.
Well, if I tell you how I felt about it, how I feel about it, the score is a lot lower. It's lower than 4. I was looking at it objectively.
Yeah, I would give it, 7 objectively. Yeah, I mean, I like Jerry Lewis. I mean, some of his other comedies are, funnier. Okay. But this was, like Eddie said, it's got a little bit more depth to it. But it's definitely a 7.
All right. Spoiler, my score would be a 0.5 out of 10. I mean, I really didn't like this at all. I didn't enjoy it one little bit, except for that little part I told you about. Okay, Eddie. Eddie, what is your score?
It's difficult to judge because the film, of course, was seen when I was a kid, and then it wasn't seen for, until here recently. It's hard to say. First viewing, of course, it was a kid. It stuck with me. You'd have to be relatively high with it.
Yeah.
Looking at it today, compared to other humors that I've experienced in my life, it's of course not near as funny. It's more nostalgic than anything today, and for that, I would probably give it a 6 or a 7.
Okay.
Like
Oh wow. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I was more generous. Well, I was trying to be fair to what it was supposed to be. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't like hate it. Like I said, it was definitely a 7 for me.
all right. Well, fair enough. So we have my honest feeling score is 0.5 out of 10. My objective score is 7.5-ish for the technicality. Maury's is 7 and Eddie's is that
Also, about
yeah,
7.
and higher. Yeah. But you guys actually enjoyed
Yeah.
the movie. Okay. Well, excellent. So if you have not seen any Jerry Lewis, or if you want to know what he was all about, I would say that it's fair to recommend this one as a good one to see.
Yeah, this is like I said, this is on the tail end of that stuff that he was doing.
Yeah.
You might be better off to see like the Geisha Boy, or there's the Martin and Lewis ones. They're from the 50s and they're in black and white. A lot of those are. And he was a teenager then.
Yeah.
So the pranks and some of the stuff reads better from a teenager.
Okay. Well, fair enough. So you heard it here first. And now we're moving into one that I have a definitely different history with. The masterpiece. Oops, I spoiled it there, how I feel. But the movie is Blazing Saddles. Maury, tell us about Blazing Saddles.
Okay, it came out in 1974. Of course, directed by Mel Brooks, written by Mel Brooks, Norman Steinberg, Andrew Bergman, and Richard Pryor, and Alan Erger.
Cool. And what's the premise? What's going on in this movie?
lots of stuff. Hedley Lamar. That's Hedley, not
not Hetty. Yeah, and even
not Hetty. He's a greedy land developer, and he hatches a plan to steal a town's land that will become profitable after his railroad is built.
And
basically,
that's the premise. And so he wants to scare away the townspeople. And this is where it gets controversial. Go into it. What makes it a bit of a risky movie?
Well, the townspeople have never had a black sheriff, so he they have requested a new sheriff because he has sent his bad guys to kill their sheriff, so they have to get a new one. Yeah. So he sends them a black sheriff.
Yeah, and
Bart.
Yeah, black, and it was terrible because his name was Bart. And if your Western people, Black Bart. So calling him Black. Oh, the black guy called Bart. Yes, and of course, we all know what ends up happening because part of this is just how incredibly racist everybody is. And so he arrives, first of all, they dress him up and he looks like he's about ready to go into a gay bar sheriff costume. And I think that's on purpose. He's shiny and he's got this thing. And as he's riding into the town, Count Basie and his orchestra are playing jazz music. And they're giving him high fives and stuff. And then the moment happens when they go, "We're here to welcome our new N-word
sheriff."
And all their
the sheriff is near.
Yeah, and they think he's saying the sheriff is near. Yeah. And the amount of times they use that word. But again, it's not a racist movie because part of it is they're really showing how absurd.
Yeah, how ridiculous it really is.
Yeah, and then just everyone's faces, and the band stops playing, and they take the welcome sign down, and he almost died. They're going to kill him. They pull out guns to kill him, and then he pretends he kidnaps himself. And he puts his gun to his head and has this quote unquote white man's voice. And that's how he saves his life. I mean, it's horrible.
And that was taken from Mel Brooks's childhood. He was about like 12 or 13. He goes into the store and he steals some gum or something and a water pistol. And the clerk was going to like turn him into the police. So he pulls the water pistol on the guy, thing he just stole, and holds him up.
Oh my gosh.
Did you keep the gum?
Oh, yeah, he kept everything. Because he held him up with the water pistol he just stole.
Well, there you go. You write what you know. And, oh gosh, I mean, it's terrible. But on the other hand, he kind of wins over the townspeople. It's that whole trope.
Yeah.
But they're just terrible. And finally, this old lady shows up. She baked him a pie and she's all, I'm sorry I called you or said up yours, you. And then she says the N word. And then she comes back a few seconds later. Don't tell anyone I talked to you.
And then like Jim's like, well, pretty soon they'll be inviting you over and you can use the front door.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then Gene Wilder as the drunk, the trope of the old washed up gunslinger.
Billy the Kid type.
Yeah, what was he, Waco or
the Waco Kid.
Waco Kid.
Oh, it was horrible. And probably the most insane thing that I don't even know how they got away with was the Mel Brooks playing the Indian chief.
Yeah.
First of all, that was just so offensive to begin with.
He's Jewish, a Jewish
and
Indian
then he
chief.
speaks Yiddish.
Yiddish, exactly.
I'm like, what the hell am I watching?
Yeah. Yeah, that was
But there is comedic genius behind it because underneath all the comedy is some really solid racial commentary that they're showing.
Like, look, all this is stupid.
Yeah, the racist people are really shown to be complete morons.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole town's last name is Johnson, so
they're all
inbred white people.
Yeah. Oh gosh, and then you have Nazis suddenly coming in because
oh no,
because the singer was German, and she always is going wow wow wow, rattling on.
Yeah, everything below the waist is kaput.
Yeah. Okay, Shane Nolan says, I love Mel Brooks as the governor and his mistress. Oh gosh, yeah.
Yes.
And he had been being like cross-eyed too.
Governor's an idiot.
Oh my gosh. And I feel almost guilty even talking about this, but when the Klan's members are there and they're trying to get them out of the way, like to lure them away, Bart, the sheriff, just jumps out and says, I'm black and I'm come for your women.
Where's all the white women?
Yeah, that's what it was. He was like, where's all the white women? And then he runs back out and they go, hey, and it works. The bait works. Yeah. And then they end up dressing up
like the Klan.
To sneak in. Oh gosh.
Like, what are you gonna do about your hands, Bart?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh my gosh. And of course the mistress. It seems like in Mel Brooks movies, he always has a woman with a really big boobs popping out. Oh my. So, and then what is it? The Irish people, the black guys, and the Chinese, they all show up and make a deal with the townspeople if they get rid of this Mongol character that then in exchange they'll be accepted or something. So by the end of the movie,
except for the Irish.
Yeah, the Irish.
We won't take the Irish.
Yeah, that's. Oh gosh, it's terrible. And there's a history for that. So that's what makes it funny. Yes. And then it does something even crazier that I'm not even sure they'd done before this. They literally break the fourth wall by just
spilling out into the movie set.
and they go
the
into
studio grounds.
They go to the theater to watch the movie.
Yeah, and then they end up watching, and that's where they get the bad guys, and they shoot him, and then they're like, okay, let's go and finish the movie.
It is weird.
Yeah. And then when they go out to leave, they're riding off into the sunset, and all of a sudden they just get off the horses and get into a limousine.
They limo off into the sunset.
Yeah. It's genius. No, was it 1974? Richard Pryor had a part in writing it too. He wrote some of it, and I was looking at some trivia, and that he actually had a lot to say about the Mongol character.
Yeah, Mongo.
Yeah, who was really dumb big guy. Okay, well, obviously I feel much differently about this one than I do.
Obviously, yeah.
But I can understand. And I could also understand how maybe someone would look at Blazing Saddles and be like, what the hell is wrong with you? But it was comedic genius, and I think it was one of the first really ones like that Mel Brooks did. I didn't know, Eddie, if you wanted to say something a little bit about Blazing Saddles.
This is another one of those ones that I've had several, multiple viewings down through the years, and surprisingly, it never really gets old. The jokes always work. It's a real good commentary on racism, and it shows it in as complete idiots, the idiocy. It's a completely irrational thought and stuff, and so it kind of shows that, but it also kind of demonstrates too how thick a hide the audience had at that point. You could do a movie like that with that type of thing, with that dialogue. We can't even say the word today. That movie's full of it, and it's funny because it's so stupid. So the audience was more tolerant, if you would, back then for things than they are now. They were more acceptable of satire. So it also kind of makes a statement like that, in that you really couldn't make that film today. You wouldn't be able to get it financed or anything.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point. And the sophisticatedness of the audience that they trusted, that they would know, obviously.
Yeah.
And this was back in a time, we're talking about 74. They're barely out of segregation, where there would be people that really would be experience a lot of what they were showing. So, and they not only said the N word, they said the British cigarette word. When dancing around, and that one guy says, "What are you doing?" Like a bunch of British cigarettes, and also very offensive word for the Chinese people.
Yes,
So they Maury, what are your thoughts on Blazing Saddles?
I think it's hilarious and brilliant, and I don't know. It's just a really great movie.
Yeah, really funny. What's one of your favorite jokes? Even if we've already said it, because I know I rambled.
Oh my gosh! Well, the bean thing is always hilarious.
Oh, we forgot about that. Because we're all really 10 years old, right? Most adolescent humor. Yeah. Well, obviously the beans, because, well, Maury, what happened?
Yeah, it's a musical fruit. The more you eat, the more you do.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't matter how old you are. You're just sitting there going,
I'm sorry, farts are funny.
They're funny. They'll always be funny. I read in some trivia, I cannot verify this, but this was popping up on my Movie Ed trivia, that when he was filming the farts, like Mel Brooks was actually filming the sound from his own farts, and and that he was pulling people in from around the studio and saying, "Hey, would you mind coming in and farting in the microphone?" So he was getting... Now that's what I really wish, that they could have recorded that. That would have been hilarious.
Gosh.
That's what I said on the trivia. I can't verify it, but it sounds about right. It sounds just like, "Hey, y'all want to come in and fart for me?" Oh gosh. Oh, what do you have a particularly favorite part, Eddie?
I like when the town's having their meeting and the school mom goes up to do her to read her letter that she's sent to the governor. Is that what she's doing? Is that what she's doing?
Yeah.
And she's speaking real very softly and all, and they ask her to speak up, and then she blows the walls out. That's a stupid sight gag, but it always makes me laugh because it's just hilarious to me.
Yeah.
So that one I like a lot.
Yeah. Well, and then as she reads the letter, it's all very polite in this, but she ends it with
Exactly.
getting rid of the N word at the end. It's terrible. But yeah, that was funny, and I don't know how they filmed these scenes without laughing. That's just what I just.
That's the thing. How do you do that? And anything Harvey Korman's in is hilarious.
Yeah. Oh no, Kick44 says YouTube deleted my comment. Thank you, YouTube overlords. I can imagine. Well, I don't know which word would have done it, but yeah, I can't even see it. So, what did you say, Kick? Type it like in a weird kind of a way, unless it is that word. I mean, because I don't like it, none of those words, but anything else.
Wow.
Because I think even the algorithm knows how to get around naughty words now because everyone's learned to misspell them. Yeah. Oh boy. But yeah, that was a funny scene. Well, and then when they're also singing in the church, they're singing this hymn.
Oh, I know.
And then at the very last line is
Exactly.
because this town has gone to SHIT and Well, the genius of the irreverent there. And I think what makes it funny is because they play it straight.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Well, there's just so much going on. And a lot of these actors, they all end up in a lot of the same movies together, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I figured, Kick. It wasn't a bad word. Yeah. YouTube's weird about the things that they'll censor. Just reading that. Oh, my gosh. But, well, and it's at the beginning of the movie when the two men, they're like, we don't want to waste a horse trying to check it out. And they go, instead send to inward. And you're just like, oh my gosh. On the other hand, it's accurate. And again, showing the absurdity of it. And then
and just how devalued they are.
Yeah. And that's actually how Bart ends up about ready to get hanged because he eventually takes a shovel to that guy.
Go hit him.
Deserving shovel to the head.
Exactly, because even when they go, they're like, "Oh, we can't waste anything that valuable," and they pull out the rail car, not the two men that are sinking in it. Yeah, and that kind of sets the premise for these stupid racists and just how crappy they're being treated. And it's also terrible that every time you see two black men, especially passing each other, they always do those handshakes and the high fives and all that. The anachronisms there remind me a little bit of that airplane humor where with the jive,
where they're speaking jive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and a big jazz band in the middle of the Wild West, and the same thing happens as well. So, but lots of great actors. Well, of course, Count Basie. That's a great cameo. But the guy from Magnum P.I.
Higgins.
Higgins.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I bet he's in there.
And Madeline Kahn. I mean, she's a genius as well. Yes. She's good and everything. Yeah. All right. So, spoiler alert. I'm just giving it a 10 out of 10. You know why? I'm completely biased. Love this movie. And Maury, what kind of a score you want to give it?
10.
10. I mean, how can you say? Well, I was about to say, how can you say otherwise? Right before I go to Eddie. Eddie, I will not be biased. Eddie, what's your score?
It gets a 10. I mean, just for staying power alone, I laughed at it as a kid. I mean, as a person in high school, and still laughing at it yesterday when we watched it. So yeah, it's got to be a 10.
Yeah. Okay, well there you go. We are in complete consensus. It's just a movie you just got to, in my humble opinion. But I would understand. I would understand if it wasn't. I would just judge you forever. No. Cake 44 says, I quoted a scene from the movie when Gabby Johnson, the lookout, was warning the town. The sheriff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah. That,
The sheriff is near. No, he's not. He's up.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, that's funny stuff.
Well, they also made fun of like those kind of white racist type, because didn't they say like that I didn't understand that gibberish. Frontier gibberish. That's what it was. Yeah, when he was speaking. Yeah. I understand Kekya, and I understand on every level. But this is one of those movies that I really hope they keep, because we need to have movies like this to show moments in time and also make fun of it. That stuff needs to be made fun of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't want to lose our sense of humor.
Exactly. But also humor has actually had a social justice component, good social justice.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Mocking the absurd with the absurd.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, our final film is one from 1997. Maury, tell us about Nothing to Lose.
Oh gosh.
Oh, sorry. I should have warned you. And I just realized this is I needed to be a moving banner. So as Maury is finding Nothing to Lose. Well, I will say it is a 1997 movie. There you go. Go for it.
It's directed by Steve Oldenreck. I'm totally butchered his name. I'm sorry. It's also written by him. It stars Martin Lawrence, Tim Robbins, John C. McGinley, Giancarlo Esposito, Kelly Preston, Michael McKean.
Okay. Well, and what's the premise of this movie?
Tim Robbins plays Nick Beam, and Nick walks into his wife having an affair with his boss, and he just drives away. He doesn't confront them. He just drives and just aimlessly driving around, and he ends up in a bad part of town. And this guy hijacks him, and then Nick turns the tables on him.
Yeah.
And they head out to they go from California to Arizona on a road trip. He kidnaps the robber.
Yeah. Yeah, they do all sorts of crazy hijinks.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, go ahead.
Yeah, and then they had to work together to get back to California because Nick threw his wallet out the window.
Yeah. And since it was 1997, we still didn't have everything on an app or something.
Yeah, nothing. You couldn't use a phone.
Yeah. Well, this one was definitely very 90s. It was Screwball, but you could tell it was a different era because they couldn't go as crazy as, say, something they would do in Blazing Saddles. But there were some racial components to this. Tim Robbins being this rich white dude, he thinks his wife is cheating on him, and he got screwed over by his boss or whatever, and then gets carjacked. By a black guy, by Martin. I almost said
Martin Lawrence.
Yeah, Martin Lawrence. Sorry. And then they go and start robbing things together. I mean, that is absurd. And
then they get confused by these actual hardened criminals that are are really bad.
Yeah.
There's Giancarlo and John C. McGinley.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah. The only real difference I think between this one and the others, because of the times, is it had a very sentimental ending at the end. JT Gunther said he really loves this movie. Oh, okay. Well, cool. I'm assuming you're talking about Nothing to Lose. Be interested to hear what you think about this. And hello, Rennie. Always good to see you. Yay. So, Eddie, what do you think about this movie? Had you seen it before?
I don't think I had, honestly. It came out in a time where I probably should have, because these kind of films were popping up, but it was actually good. Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that I actually missed it. But it was a decent film. It wasn't over the top awesome and whatnot, but it was good. It was worth the viewing, and I'll see it again. I'll watch it again sometime. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I like both of the actors who head up the film. I like them both, so it was a win-win actually.
Oh, okay, there you go. Yeah, I'm not too crazy about Tim Robbins, but
wasn't he in Jacob's Ladder? Wasn't that him?
Yeah, that was him.
Gosh, that's one of my faves. But yeah, and then Martin Lawrence, Living Color. No, what was he?
He had his own show.
He had his own show. Okay.
Yeah, it's
I don't know, but definitely good comedian. Well, definitely Martin Lawrence is a great comedian.
Yeah.
Tim
excellent.
Robbins, I think he's an acquired taste. I just was never too crazy about him. And also he and his wife or girlfriend, I don't know if they ever actually got married to this random, wouldn't shut up yapping about stupid crap. They were one of the first obnoxious shut up and act people that you just wouldn't yell at. So yeah. And well, Rennie really likes this movie. It's Nothing to Lose. It's so funny. Yes, J.T. Gunter was referring to Nothing to Lose.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's fun. I tell you who I love to death is John C. McGinley.
Yeah.
He's just one of those character actors that pops up, and everything he does, he's absolutely fantastic.
Isn't he Dr. Cox on Scrubs?
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know Scrubs very well, but I know he's on that. Yeah, but he's terrific. He's good in this as well.
Okay, well, Maury, what was one of your favorite parts of this movie? What made you like?
Oh my gosh, I don't know.
All right, well, while you're thinking,
everything Martin Lawrence, but yes, at the end, whenever Nick cuts that statue.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, no, that was funny, and the mother, Martin Lawrence's mother, just slapping him and slapping him, and then Tim Robbins says something, and she slaps him too. It's like, because you were the one keeping him out all night.
Bam.
Yeah.
Then he gives her homemade mustard.
Oh
she looks forward to put on her hot dog. Bam.
Right. Yeah. Well, the holdup when that old man, the man at the gas station or the convenience store, just wasn't too impressed with them at all. They kind of just staring at them. And then finally at the end, it goes, okay, you did that well. At the end, like he was rating their robbery.
Right. That's right.
Well, he was scary. I think the MF part was really scary.
Yeah.
Rennie's like, you want a cookie? Here's an effing cookie.
That's right.
Okay. JT Gunther says the spider
the spider scene, yes.
Oh. I don't know. I couldn't laugh too hard about that because spiders, I take spiders seriously. I was like, no.
There's a spider on your head. I'm sorry, I don't know what there's a spider on your head means.
I don't know
there's a spider on your head.
Yeah. Oh my God. So that just gives me the heebie-jeebies. Well, and they were sitting there yelling at each other to shut up. You shut up. You shut up, mother. And they were mother effer. Yeah. Yeah, there were many moments like it was a good combination, I think, of sight gags and funny moments like that.
I like this.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I like the scene where Tim Robbins' character, they're cornered by the two bad guys, and he's just done. He reaches the title of the film in a point, and he turns and just gives John C. McGinley's character. He just reads him the riot act. He just lays out exactly what he is, and it just, I just think that's. If he hadn't been interrupted, probably he would have gotten shot at the end of his little speech. But I thought his speech was really good, the way and to John McGinley's character. I thought that was
totally cuts him down.
He totally cuts him, just rips him to shreds.
Oh, that's. It's interesting the different things that catch our eye. Yeah, and maybe I just hate these attention to details, but this movie wouldn't work nowadays because when that dude tried to call the cops on him when they were trying to rob him, and he wasn't trying to rob him. He just wanted to buy something, but the guy saw his gun and he was like, I'm sick of this. And he starts to call the sheriff, and that Tim Robbins was able to get him he forced him to pull the plug out of the phone. And later Martin Lawrence is like, well, how do you know he's not going to call the sheriff? And he's like, I pulled the plug out of the phone. And they're like, haha, good thinking. It's like nowadays, by then the cops would already be there because he had texted the cops.
Exactly.
I know. They like, he doesn't even rob him because he's like, now I'm going to pay for the gas and the gum.
Pack of gum, And then he ended up buying the gun from the guy too.
Yeah, he bought the gun. So he like paid for everything.
Yeah. That was a good scene. I wonder about the happy ending. If I were to really criticize this movie, I think it was better when his wife really was screwing the boss he hated. It turns out it was mistaken. It was her twin sister or something that was screwing the boss. Because at the beginning of the movie,
her and her boyfriend.
Yeah, her boyfriend. Yeah. Because at the beginning of the movie, they were kind of teasing each other, and then she was like, "Oh, I've got a boyfriend, and this is what he does, with his tongue and stuff." Yeah. And the fact that it really wasn't true, that they gave that a happy ending, where it's like, "Oh no, it was just a misunderstanding, darling." And it's like, "Oh, fine, okay," but. That was a 90s thing. I could see that was almost probably studio interference going, no, you've got to have a happy ending. It was just a misunderstanding. But.
Well, it still would have been a happy ending if him and Terrence had become friends and they just took over the company.
Well, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I thought that would be great. Yeah. But it was nice the way it ended up with him getting a job as a security person. And well, that also wouldn't work nowadays. They got out of being caught because Martin Lawrence snuck in and recorded over the video tape. Yeah, it wouldn't work. It would all been digital.
Yeah, he had to patch it in.
Yeah, so there were funny parts. I mean, it definitely was a good movie to sit and watch. I could see myself popping some popcorn, watching it with the family, and
sure,
doing that. I don't know. I don't know who else to cast besides Tim Robbins. I just hate his guts so much. That's my problem with this movie, and I can't fault the movie because he didn't do anything wrong. He just existed, and you can't hold that against a character. But no, it was enjoyable. So I'm going to go ahead and let Maury start with this one. What would you rate this movie?
I'd give it a 10.
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
I'll be damned. Okay. Now I'm going to start judging.
I really like it.
Okay, that's a free country. Okay, so Maury definitely completely highly recommends it, gives it a 10 out of 10. How about you, Eddie?
Well, I liked it and all. It became a little predictable for me. I'd probably give it a generous 7, maybe.
Okay. Yeah. I probably would give it a little bit lower, maybe a 6.5 out of 10, because I didn't think it was like a magnificently crafted film. And while there were some really funny moments like the ones I talked about, it wasn't necessarily like the Blazing Saddles where you just really feel like it's just building from one thing to the other to the other. And I hate Tim Robbins.
Well.
Yeah. So I guess I would say I would recommend it in the sense of, okay, if it's on TV, you're at home, you don't have to pay for it. You sit and you watch it with some friends. Okay. But of all the three, of course, my most highly recommended and rating one is the Blazing Saddles. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's see. Shane Nolan says he was a good villain, anti-hero in the player as a scumbag producer. Yes, I think I remember that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's an acquired taste. I think it's not fair to compare all these three movies, especially these ones, because they're from different eras and it's a different taste in comedy. But for me, like I said, out of all these three, I would say definitely watch Blazing Saddles.
Yeah, I mean, the reason nothing to lose. I mean, I like the Nick and Terrence's back and forth. That's what I really like. And I don't have no opinion about Tim Robbins because I don't listen to celebrities.
Yeah. Oh well, Rennie's with you. So, yeah, Rennie's saying this is the only movie I like Tim Robbins in. So there we go. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. So I mean, I really have no opinion on the person himself.
Sure. Well, okay. Eddie, you got anything to add, subtract?
I agree. You can't really put these movies up against each other. You know, they're too dissimilar and everything. I enjoyed revisiting The Disorderly Orderly again. It was a nostalgic kind of trip down memory lane, so it's hard to gauge that against anything else. And I would watch all of these again. Of course, I'll see Blazing Saddles probably another 200 or 300 times before departing. And if I get the opportunity to, I'll catch Nothing to Lose again too, definitely.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, watching this Orleans makes me want to watch more Jerry Lewis movies.
You know, it may send. We may have to get out like Geisha Boy or something, or the one that's the one where he has the rabbit. He plays a magician. he plays a magician going around to troops in Korea or maybe Japan or somewhere, and he's got the rabbit with him, and it's just it's more of the same, but it's good.
The same but different.
Same but different. He fathers. His love interest has a son, and I don't remember how she ended up without the father, but he ends up fathering the little boy or playing that role in a sense. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very sweet.
Yeah. Well, going along with what I read, he always says that he likes to throw in something to make it a little higher, and I think we definitely owe a debt to the trailblazing work that Jerry Lewis did do in comedy from everything I'm seeing about him. Yeah. Well, great. Well, I love talking about these, and these movies were chosen by Eddie and Maury this time around. So I love the way that maybe I'm seeing some movies I would not have gone out of my way to see, or perhaps even rewatch. I'm so glad to rewatch Blazing Saddles, but I would not have watched these movies if otherwise. So hopefully maybe those of you listening in the rerun, in the replay, maybe can find something to watch and something to enjoy in these three too. Thank you for everyone in my chat. Thank you, Shane Nolan, all the way from the Emerald Isle. You're always here. Thank you. Thank you, Rennie. Thank you for popping in. I'm glad you were listening. JT Gunter. Thank you, Keck for modding, and we had some other people pop in. If I miss you, please don't take it personally. It's just sometimes my scrolly thing doesn't scroll and it doesn't go back to a certain amount of time, but I do appreciate everyone who watches. Please stay tuned to Miss Martin Muses. Stay tuned to Miss Martin Muses, where there will be more streams coming up. On Saturday, we have our Lord of the Rings. We often have the double pick on Monday night, depending, and the triple review will return. Just a matter of when. We will see. But thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you for being here. Have a great day, everyone. Have a great day, and be certain. If you, just don't friggin' do armed robbery. How's that? That's a good lesson for today. And I don't know. And watch some more Jerry Lewis, I guess. Get some appreciation for the world.
Don't forget to eat your beans.
And eat your beans. There we go.
Beans.
Okay. Goodbye.